You can literally build an AI app and make millions. Is university and our degree still worth it in 2025?
The degree you do does not matter, apart from quant trading. That's the one small exception. Oxford's overrated, Cambridge is overrated. Prestige does not get you a job.
How did I show those skills? Well, I had a part-time job at McDonald's, earning £5.30 an hour, but it showed them that, look, this kid's a hard worker.
I mean, I've heard of people not showering for 5 days. This is a £1 million life hack.
I was one of the first people in my family to go to university. I got rejected from the high street law firm in Small Heath, and I got to like one of the biggest law firms in the world. If I can do it, I'm sure 99% of the people that are messaging me and are watching this podcast can too. In 2025, with AI reshaping industries, with the rise of degree apprenticeships and technical apprenticeships, and with the allure of entrepreneurship, especially amongst young people, you can literally build an AI app and make millions. Is university and our degree still worth it in 2025?
Great question. And I get this question all the time by parents, by students, by so many people. I think it depends, right? I think it depends what you want in your life, in your career. I think going to university, you're working, you're studying for 3 years or 4 years in a program. If you want to go into a graduate job like corporate law, but even corporate law now, there's actually degree apprenticeship. So you don't even need to go to university. But on the one side, with a uni degree, you definitely can do a lot. It's a signal. A lot of employees are used to this. But on the flip side, do you have to go to university? You really don't. Degree apprenticeships are a really good option. There'll be lots of listeners looking at this and listening in and thinking about that. It's a great option. But do you even have to have a degree apprenticeship? Do you have to go to university? Not really. There's so many successful people out there who haven't been to any, and they've been incredibly successful. So I think for me, the most important thing is having a strategy and being world-class at what you do.
Yeah, and again, I went to Warwick, and as somebody from a working class background, one of the first people in my family to go to university, it was a fundamentally changing experience for me. I went to university as somebody who I hope full of potential, and I didn't really know about corporate careers. I didn't really know about who I wanted to be, even as a person. But going to university and studying history, the ideas I was exposed to, the people that I met, like me and Ish became friends through university, was a life-changing experience. And if I could go back to 18-year-old Akil, I would definitely push him, go to university. And he was moving out, going to Warwick, literally changed who I was as a person. And from there, my life took a different trajectory. And so I would definitely recommend it. But as you say, if you're looking at it as purely employability, there are other options. But in terms of it being a life-changing experience, being exposed to ideas, it's a tried and tested model. Going to university exposes you to so many ideas and changes you as a person. And I would definitely recommend any young people to think about that experience.
Yeah, I think similar to yourself, I'm from Derby originally, from a very working class background. My dad worked in a biscuit factory. And I went to UCL, which is one of the most prestigious universities in the world. There were so many people out there from amazing backgrounds, from different areas. I learned so much. So a lot for me, university is not just about getting a degree. I have a history degree too. It's not about doing a 10,000 word dissertation. It's about learning, it's about growing, it's about meeting new people. I think for that alone, it's definitely a big pro. But on the flip side, you don't have to have a university degree. You can, again, go to lots of, frankly, bars, house parties, and meet lots of people when you're growing up. And that can hopefully help too. So there's definitely pros and cons.
Yeah, I think there's an initiative you need. Let's say you went and started a business at 18 years old, or you did a degree apprenticeship. There's an initiative you need to go out and meet people your age, test different ideas, speak to them, just try a lot of stupid stuff. And university provides the greatest trial period. It's 3 years where you just need to focus on getting this 2-1, which it shouldn't be that hard if you get into the university. And you can just try a lot of stupid things that might not pull off, but you're meeting people and you're navigating this new world. It was the first time that I moved out, the first time I learned to cook, the first time I was independent, and I was in this kind of bubble, which is this kind of trial period, this trial period before real life. And honestly, without it, I think I'd be a really different person. And I think you could say that with anything. But I definitely think from that perspective, and I compare it a lot to my friends who went to university but stayed at home. And I definitely, for good or for worse, see a bigger change in those who moved out. And so maybe there's a discussion on whether you go to university, whether moving out or staying at home. And I think that's something to think about as well.
So, okay, now we've spoken about the pros and cons of going to university, whether it's worth it or not. Now, the second question that always comes up is, what should I study? So I also did a history degree as well. When I was applying for jobs, I got offers from law, from banking, from logistics and supply chain. So I had all of these different offers on the table. Does the degree that people actually choose still matter when it comes to getting a job or not?
So I get this DM 4,000 times.
I get it 8,000 times.
So many times.
Everybody wants to ask, I do X degree, can I get X job? And I'm just unless it's A technical one, like, you're fine.
So I'm saying direct to the camera, the degree you do does not matter. And to that camera and that camera, the degree you do does not matter in getting a top career. Apart from quant trading. That's the one small exception. But honestly, it doesn't matter. I have clients right now who have done political science at university, who is VAT scheming at elite corporate law firms. We've had another one who did information management and business, music.
Yeah, I work with somebody who did music. Like, I literally work with somebody who studied music. I think it was at St. Andrews or Oxford, and is now a corporate lawyer.
So, I mean, what they really look for, I'm looking directly into the camera because I know so many people will be asking this question. What really they're looking for, whether you're looking for Clifford Chance, whether you're looking for Deutsche Bank, whether you're looking for KKR, they're looking for intelligent people and 2 clear thinkers and 3 resilient workers. That is what they ideally want. Now, you can have those 3 traits, whether you're from a music degree background from Birmingham University, whether you're doing PPE at Oxford, or whether, frankly, from Derby, you're doing English at Derby. What they're looking for is people who are clear thinkers, who can work hard and who really want to excel. So if you're looking for a training contract or IB or PE, the degree you do does not matter. Just apply. That's what matters.
How can people showcase those 3 skills?
So I think it's really not that hard. A lot of students think you have to climb Mount Kilimanjaro. They think you have to, intern at a top PE fund. It's really simple. For me, and this is literally what a client did, a client literally prepared to run a 10 km run over 6 months. She had to train twice a week. She had to do a lot of other stuff, and she had to do a lot of, there was some physiotherapy stuff. And over time, incrementally, she did well and frankly did it. She is now interning at a top corporate law firm.
And again, with me, I studied history at the University of Warwick. How did I show those skills? Well, I had a part-time job at McDonald's, earning £5.30 an hour. And that was enough to convince them that I'm a hard worker, I'm dedicated. I've got the basic stuff like time management and I can deal with people. But working at McDonald's, which isn't a hard first job to get, I don't know about the climate today because I've not tried applying there. But when I was 16, it was pretty easy to get into. But it showed them that, look, this kid's a hard worker. He's doing his A-levels, he's at university, he's working at McDonald's, he's getting paid like whatever, £5.30 an hour. But it shows he can do the basics right on top of a job. And that's what you need if you're going into any corporate career.
What they're ultimately looking for, someone coming into a graduate job, is someone who can work hard and is enthusiastic and has grit. Grit is really important. Now, working at McDonald's shows that. I have a client again right now who had a spring week at a top investment bank. He also worked at McDonald's. I also worked at a call center selling
There's something in the food in McDonald's, man. There's something in the something in the chemicals at McDonald's that like helps you with a corporate career.
Honestly, it makes a big difference. I think, again, you don't have to do any really fancy, crazy things. Going for a run, doing gardening, doing tutoring, simple things make a big difference, and it makes you. That's what makes you stand out in an interview. Just that clarity.
And I get a lot of the same questions where I get people asking me, oh, I go to X university, does that matter? Or I do X degree, does that matter? And I'm like, what are you doing beyond that? Anybody can go to like a top university or Russell Group University, but it's like, what are you doing beyond that to make you like a different or an exceptional candidate? And it's like, what are you doing on your weekends?
Yes.
Like, what part-time jobs have you got? What extracurriculars are you involved in? And I think that's a lot more of an important question than, oh, I've studied history, can I be a corporate lawyer? Go on LinkedIn, you'll see plenty of historians who are corporate lawyers. I study, sports science. I'm sure there's somebody who's done that and is a corporate lawyer today. That isn't like a big question. It's more, what are you doing outside of your degree that can make you exceptional to get into those careers?
Just a bit more on that. Does the university, because I always see in the Kills comment sections on TikTok and Insta, people always asking, I went to this uni, can I get into Magic Circle firm? Is that important at all? You're saying it's not really important. So do recruiters not actually look at the uni? They don't care where you went to, or is a bit more detailed than that?
So the question we're really asking is, can you go from a non-target and get into Magic Circle law firm? Absolutely yes. What students get confused by is prestige. Prestige is 100% important. Prestige, frankly, if you told me you went to the University of Oxford, the subconscious response is, hey, this person's really smart. But being really smart doesn't get you into Slaughter and May. It doesn't get you into Deutsche Bank. It doesn't get you into PwC Strategy or McKinsey. What matters is passing a recruitment process. I have personally helped clients from non-target universities get into elite US law firms. So very simply, if you're watching this, you're from a non-target, you're studying music, and you want to become a corporate lawyer or go into banking, the answer is absolutely yes, and ultimately no. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, just to add to that, again, going to a Russell Group, the better university you can get to, it'll help.
Yeah.
But it's definitely not a prerequisite to getting in there. No. And again, what you can do, just go on LinkedIn, Type in whatever uni, X university, the University of Small Heath or whatever, and type in corporate lawyer, and you will find somebody. Trust me, I've done this exercise. You know, I've done. You just write it in, and you will find people in investment banking, corporate law, consulting from God knows what university on whatever island or wherever.
And wherever people are watching this in the world, please fact check us. Go on LinkedIn, go on to Freshfields, go on these top organizations, and you will find people in top investment banks who are from not ideal universities, so to speak. Is very possible.
Hassan, how important is going to Oxford or Cambridge these days?
Not very. Oxford's overrated, Cambridge is overrated. In getting a top career, what you need is a strategy. You do not need to go to Oxford or Cambridge. I get countless DMs from individuals from those universities who don't get into top careers. So strategy is what matters. You can get into top careers without having gone there. Going to Oxbridge is incredibly prestigious, but prestige does not get you a job.
Yeah, I think there's a bit of like, not arrogance, but like just because you go to Oxbridge doesn't give you a top corporate career.
It's entitlement, isn't it?
I have people reaching out to me who are students from Oxford. They've graduated from Cambridge, graduated from Yale. I've also spoken at Frank to students at Harvard, at Yale, at MIT. If going to those places got you a training contract at Clifford Chance or got you into training at Jane Street, that frankly, they wouldn't reach out. What matters is a strategy. It's being clear, being accurate and knowing what you're doing. Going to a top university is prestigious, but prestige does not get you a job. I really want to restate this. Prestige does not get you a job. Going to Oxford, going to Cambridge, doing the BCL at Oxford does not necessarily get you a training contract at Slaughter and May. The strategy and passing a recruitment process does. And you can pass the recruitment process for these top careers, top corporates, going from Birmingham, going from any university. If you go to a recruiter and see what they actually ask for, it's definitely not those universities. What they're looking for is hard workers, people looking to grow, people willing to learn, and ultimately add value to an organization now and in 10 years' time.
Exactly. And my next question, and again, I've got an answer to this, so I just want to check in with you. So what's the single best piece of advice you'd give to anybody who wants a corporate career? So there's somebody in front of you who wants to get into IB. There's somebody in front of you who wants to get into corporate law or consulting. What's one piece of advice that you'd give them on how to get into a corporate career?
Can I give 3?
Let's stick with one and then you can build it with 2 more. What's the one single piece?
The one, and this is genuinely everything I tell my clients, I say across the world, is being specific. Being specific in every single data point of the recruitment process. Now, I could speak for 15 hours about this, but let's start really simple. If you're writing a cover letter, be very specific about why you want to say, go for White and Case. Is it their guaranteed international secondment? Is it because you've spoken to an associate there? Is it because of their M&A practice? Is it because of their PE practice? If we're going to an interview now, if we're talking about commercial awareness, how is a particular topic, say Trump's tariff, how is it affecting the law firm itself, say White and Case, and how is it affecting White and Case's clients? So I want to be clear, this is not affiliated with White and Case. I was using any firm. We can pick Herbert Smith, we can pick Freshfields, it doesn't matter, but be very, very specific. That is what makes a difference in your CV. Again, now let's talk about, say, a common one. What students really struggle with the high views. People really dislike high view video interviews. What makes someone successful? It just is being specific. So why corporate law? Mention, for instance, does your interest stem from, say, looking at a receipt? A receipt ultimately is a legal document. It's a proof of purchase. What made it stand out for you? Was it the terms and conditions? Are you looking at the warranties? Are you looking at the indemnities? The key thing is being hyper specific.
And again, mine's completely like on the opposite end of the spectrum. So when people come to me and they ask me what's the one single piece of advice, it's a lot broader than that. And it's like, have some charisma. Like be an entertaining person. I'll tell you something, right? I've had people on the streets come up to me and ask for, God knows, they've asked for like £2 for the bus or whatever. And if they've got some charisma, I will give it. I will give you everything. Why do you think why do you think these cults are so successful? Because they have charismatic leaders. And this is a broader point in life. If you want to get something and you want to convince people to give you a job, sales, to give you money, just have a bit of charisma. Like a lot of people, and like in corporate law, one of the things that I meet with a lot of lawyers is they are charismatic people. I know there's a whole stereotype of like a boring lawyer or a boring banker, but the majority of them know how to win over a crowd and they know how to win people and to convince people. Like if you're like, let's use being a lawyer as an example. you're trying to convince clients this is a solution and this is the solution you should go for. And how are you going to sell that? You're going to sell that through having a charismatic personality where they can trust you and they think, this is a guy who I want to be on a call with, and I don't want to be on a call with this guy, whoever the other person was. And so I think having some charisma, and we can discuss like how to build charisma, but it's, again, it links to confidence, having a smile on your face, being able to make your life seem personable and have a few funny stories. And the interviewer needs to think, whether you're going into banking, consulting, corporate law, whether you're trying to sell a £1 million yacht, I want to speak to this person. I want to be on a call with this person, especially in corporate law. I think when I meet somebody new or I'm working with somebody, do I want to work with this person at 2 a.m.? Are they an entertaining person that I can work with? If they're just your run-of-the-mill like NPC, then the answer's probably not. I'm going to run away to the other side.
I really want to stress this. Like, I've literally never seen someone pass an interview without having charisma. And I guess we come to how to have it. But a very basic point for me, this is a £1 million life hack. £1 million, but it's free. Just smile. Just smile. Yeah. It takes you so far. Now, I go super technical into this with individuals, but when you smile, your vocal tonality increases. You look more engaging. You start to use your hands. And if you look at individuals who are high status or powerful, they tend to use these things. They smile a lot. So really, interview, one of the baseline things I drill into clients is smile, whether it's a high-view video interview, a technical interview, a motivational interview, because it shows you're enjoying it. If you're enjoying something, you are just going to instill a lot more confidence in the interviewer. Whether you're applying, frankly, for a TC at Skadden, at Goldman Sachs, or the like, smiling, being yourself, it makes a huge difference.
And again, just on that Goldman Sachs, so I once had this talk. Yeah. It was like there's 10 of us, and we were speaking to this MD at Goldman Sachs. And so he sat there, and we were speaking about something as boring as like you would think it's boring. Like I think it was a specific part of the private equity market and how it deals with like infrastructure. But his charisma, it captured me. The way he was speaking about things, he made it sound like the most exhilarating thing ever because he made it personable. He had the anecdotes ready. He was confident about what he was saying. And again, if somebody's like, how do I be charismatic? I think along with smiling, there is also having confidence. And the way you do that is you have a body of work that proves that you are the guy and you're going to get the job. And I think there's a fine line between confidence and overconfidence. But I think to be confident is you go through that CV of yours and you be like, damn, I'm impressed with what I've done. Like, when I look at my CV, I'm like, okay, cool, I haven't done that much, but I was 16, working at McDonald's with fully grown men, plus doing my A-levels, plus, I've started this podcast, plus I do whatever my social media is. I'm damn impressed by that because I know who I am. And so that means I'm going to go into any room and be able to talk about that confidently and be like, I'm the guy. And everybody's got this in their locker.
I just want to add to that. So a lot of people who watch is, how do I become confident? I'm 16, I'm 17, I'm really young. So for me, confidence comes from competence. Just do stuff. Very basic stuff is absolutely fine. A really good example is, and again, this is exactly what I tell my clients, there's nothing stopping anyone from going on the internet right now and starting a blog. You can just say you want to get a spring week at Deutsche Bank. There's nothing wrong with you writing an article on the different ways to value a company between, say, a DCF, comps, and the like. Producing some level of work gives you confidence because you can think psychologically, hey, I've done 1, 2, 3 things. Ultimately, really start to do stuff. And when you get onto VAC schemes or internships, you will see people who have 2 or 3 prior internships are generally different in terms of body language than those who haven't. Why? They have, as you said, a body of work. So competence equals confidence.
And I just want to add one more example, and this is completely not corporate. So there's a podcaster, right, called Dwarkesh Patel.
Yes.
And he's managed to secure some of the biggest names. He's had the CEO of Microsoft. He's had Tony Blair. Wow. He's had big names. He's had him on his podcast. And the way he did it was he was really passionate about AI and about history and about his podcast in general. And he would write blogs about general topics related to AI and these companies. And so when he was doing those blogs, and I assume he was writing these blogs without the intention of these people reading it and these people coming on, it was for his small community or his Substack. He was writing these blogs, and he soon got the attention of the CEOs of Microsoft, the CEOs of Google, and now he's one of the biggest names in Silicon Valley because he's somebody in the early 20s writing blogs about what he's interested in. And we have something that people 20 years ago didn't. We have the internet, and everybody's on it. And so if you want to get into corporate law, you don't need to, but you can just write a blog, blogging your journey or about what interests you about corporate law. Is it, tariffs, or is it private equity, or is it contract law, and just write about it. And you can build a community, and you can use that as the body of work. Because why is X people, whether it's 2 people or 20 people, reading your thing? You clearly have something special about you because they're not reading anybody else's. Or maybe they are in conjunction with yours.
Yeah, and I think I agree. I just want to make one more point too, that it compounds over time. The more stuff you do, the better you get, the more confident you get. If you write 20 articles, let's talk about corporate law. If you write 20 articles about the corporate veil, warranties, indemnities, force majeures, there's another really good one recently. There's good behavior clause, morality clauses, quite topical for influencers. If you write 20 of them, you will just be a lot more confident because you can think, I know X, Y, Z. And also when you get to a training contract interview, you can speak about it in depth. And also when you write about things, individuals deem you much more credible. So yeah, I think that's quite important.
So for both of you, is that in your experiences what you've seen is what separates the candidates that make it from those that don't, having that confidence that comes from a body of work?
That, number 2 is clear thinking. For me, this is true intelligence. For me, having 6 A stars at A level and a first class PPE degree is great. It proves you can pass an exam, which is fantastic. But if you really ask for executives, if you really ask CEOs, if you really ask partners what they want is clear thinkers. And that really comes out in an interview. How will X affect the firm in 3 ways? Why are you interested in corporate law? Giving 3 reasons. For me, it's clear thinking. This is quite a contrarian view, but ultimately the top executives, they want clear thinkers. I think that's, for me, a very important thing. And 2 is structure. Clear thinking and structure. I can promise you can write this down now. You'll never pass an interview unless you're very structured.
And then building on that, okay, so somebody's watching this, right? Can you tell them who is the most stereotypically unlikely candidate who's got into IB, corporate law, and give us some details to show you anybody can get in? You could give me as an example.
Yeah, you're one of the best examples.
Like I don't wanna... state school, I literally knew nobody in law. Like I literally knew nobody. I remember for work experience, I went to a high street law firm. Yeah. It's a criminal, I won't expose them, but I went to them for my work experience in year 10 and they rejected me. Because they gave it to one of their cousins. Yeah. But it was just, I literally had no connections in law whatsoever. I was one of the first people in my family to go to university. Yeah. And even that, like, I didn't have cousins who were like lawyers or even connected to it. And literally, Ish remembers this. He once messaged me when we were in first year of university and was like to me, Akil, are you applying for Baker McKenzie? And I was like, who's Baker? And why are we applying to him? And he was like, oh, it's corporate law. And like, I had this kind of like existential crisis. I was like, oh, I've done 7 months in Warwick University, history degree, first year. And I've not thought about what grad job I want, what job I wanted. And it was that text which I was like, Baker McKenzie, Clifford Chance, and this whole, I need to get a job. And then from there on, I just went on like a mad journey to become it. But if you spoke to me like in the first year of uni, I would be the most unlikely candidate ever. Because when people talk about, I don't know anybody in corporate law, I knew less than 0. I knew people who knew, like I was the most unlikely candidate. So people message me and they say, oh, I know nobody in corporate law, or, you know, I haven't done any work experience. I got rejected from the high street law firm in Small Heath, and I got to like one of the biggest law firms in the world. So if I can do it, I'm sure 99% of the people that are messaging me and are watching this podcast can too.
Yeah, we have a very, very similar background. I'm from a place called Normanton in Derby, massive poverty, a lot of crime. People didn't get good grades.
Did the crime reduce when you left?
No comment. But yeah, like people didn't know. This Baker, McKenzie, Decker, this could be biscuit companies.
Exactly.
Genuinely, McKinsey could be like a watch company.
Exactly.
It did not mean anything. And frankly, a lot of people did not know what UCL was when I got into there. But yeah, I think ultimately...
They thought it was a disease. You got UCL. What have you been getting up to get UCL?
No, honestly. And ultimately, it doesn't matter. I think for people watching this, if you're from that background, it really doesn't matter. What matters is clarity, strategy, and also your story is, so, for me, very powerful. You've come from a challenging background, a single parent background, a working class background. That brings so much to your story. So I think, it's very possible.
And I just want to add one more thing. Yeah. So I remember, honestly, like a kid from like Small Heath. I barely left like Small Heath, and I went to Warwick University.
Which is a top university, by the way.
And I thought to myself, I had done it for myself. And then you look around and you see all these people from like private school, and you get kind of imposter syndrome. And you're like, maybe this is as far as I can get. Yes, I'll go to a good university, but getting a good job that's outside of like what's meant for me. So I'm gonna go and become, I don't know, like go back to Small Heath and do whatever. But when you get to Warwick or you get to whatever university and you're from obviously a background that isn't the usual route, that's just the start of your journey.
Yeah.
Nothing's predetermined. You know, like as soon as you get to Warwick or wherever X university, the whole world is your oyster. And when I got there, I saw all these people who had done a lot more than me. They came from parents who were like lawyers, doctors. They came from a lot more money than me. And I thought, this corporate law career, this consulting, this banking, this golden kind of, you know, career is for them and not for me. And I've already done, like, I've maxed out my points in life and I've got to Warwick and that's good enough. But it was that I kept pushing, and I see a lot of kids who get to Warwick or Birmingham or X university and think that's it for them and that they've done what they need to do in life. But no, you keep pushing and you see how far. And like, I don't think my points have run out yet. I'm going to keep going. And when they run out, they run out. But like, that isn't the end all. And we're going to speak about it. But yeah, that isn't the end all. Just keep pushing.
And just to really echo and just mention this, a lot of students will be watching this will think, for corporate law especially, that you haven't got incredible A levels. It's all over. I can tell you factually, a lot of firms now do not even consider your A levels. They just look if you have a 2-1 or not. I think for me, 4A stars is very overrated. You don't need 4A stars at A level to get into IB or corporate law. There was someone very famous in Pakistan who did, think, 20 or 30 A levels.
I think I know who you're on about, yeah.
And for me, as a professional, that's a complete waste of time.
They'll get you on the Guinness Book of World Records though, which...
But in the grand scheme of things, how important is that? It's a flex, but what are you flexing for? Does that equal occupational reward? Probably
and then it just takes somebody to do 21 and then you're back at square zero because then you're like, you don't have that. How would that look on a CV though? Like if you were to see a CV or Guinness Book of World Records?
At the end of the day, whatever career you're going for, you've got to be smart to get into these top jobs. And the way to get smarter is by listening to top quality conversations with experts. At the Whitelist podcast, we sit down with world-leading experts that help you get a bit smarter every day. So if you like what you're listening to, please like, subscribe, and follow us across all of our social media channels. Thank you so much, and let's get back to it.
So now we're going to think, okay, cool. So we've spoke about university. Now we're going to go into graduate careers, especially corporate careers. Great. And let's talk about the 3 most prestigious ones. It's corporate law, investment banking, and consulting. And what I want to discuss is which one gives the highest salary, which one works the longest hours, which one is the most prestigious in terms of exit opportunities and what you can become after, and which one has the most good-looking people in it.
The most important question.
Yeah.
I just want to slightly redefine the question.
And I'll be very upset if the 4th one isn't corporate lawyers because of who you're saying opposite. I'm really upset. But look, I'm not going to.
So pretty happy.
But I'll just let it be. So let's start off with highest salary. Which of those gives the highest salary?
So I want to also reframe your question because for me, the most prestigious is private equity. But that is a typical exit op. But the highest salary, it depends at what stage. But very simply, corporate lawyers are now earning pretty much similar to investment bankers. But for me, the real mega bucks, the real money comes when you are senior. And frankly speaking, in a hedge fund, you can earn millions. In a private equity firm, you can earn billions. Realistically, I know people in corporate law who earn 5 million, 10 million. But
he's not talking about me, guys. He's not discussing me.
I mean, this may be
just very far. That's very far from the truth right now.
But very simply, you can earn $1 million in either. You can earn $1 million in corporate law by 35 or 100%. I mean, give an example. Steve Schwartzman, the person who owns Blackstone, his salary was $1 billion. He owns a private equity firm, but you can earn hundreds of thousands and millions in these careers. What's most prestigious? Cravath in the US is an extremely prestigious corporate law firm. It's a hard question. Depends what you're defining prestige as.
And I think it depends on like different levels. On the junior end, there's been a massive increase in corporate law salaries, and I think they're basically touching IB because IB used to be the preeminent one. IB was paying 50% above everything else, especially with the bonuses. I think now corporate law firms, US law firms in London are literally paying like £180,000, which works out to be 250k a year and a bonus on top of that. So I think right now, IB and corporate law, private equity corporate law, so we're talking about US firms, are like at the top. And then consulting, the salaries in consulting, MBB, aren't as impressive as IB and corporate law. Do you agree?
But I think definitely IB be number 1, then corporate law number 2, then consulting number 3. But ultimately, if you're very, very good at your job, you can earn a lot. And also, you can frankly move from consulting to IB.
Cool. And then the second one is going to be who works the longest hours. And I think it's a different way to calculate hours. And and I was discussing this with a friend of mine who's in investment banking. Okay, cool. So investment banking, you don't count the hours you work. There's no such thing as billable hours.
Yeah,
so if you walk into the office at 7 a.m., you do no work until 5 p.m. and you get chucked the deck at 5 p.m. and you work till 10 p.m. That would count as like 12 hours, or 13 or 14 hours, however long, even though you've done no work because you were in the office. In corporate law, it's completely different. If you walk in at 9 a.m. and do no work till 9 p.m., that's 0 billable hours. And then get chucked like a contract at 9 p.m. and work till 2 a.m., that's 10, 11, 12, 1, 2. You worked 5 hours, even though you've been working till 2 a.m. because we count billable hours, not FaceTime or how long you've been in the office for. And I think that's why you hear from investment bankers, I did a 100-hour week. And sorry, I'm not trying to downplay it. I'm just like, how many hours were you actually working? Because as a corporate lawyer, we only count the hours we were actually doing work. That's the hours that we count. That's the hours that are going to go on to my billable hours, or I'm going to say, it's the hours that I'm actually working on client work, not how long I've been in the office. And I think, and I don't know about your experience, but I think bankers can say, I've worked 100-hour weeks, but it's how many of those hours were they actually working? They weren't waiting for work.
Yeah, I think with investment banking, they definitely, I have some insane stories. I can go into lots of them. People haven't left the office for literally 3 days. Sounds insane, but has happened.
I haven't heard that in corporate law, as in maybe like 10, 20 years ago, but amongst the people that I know, I haven't heard stories as insane as that, like 3 days for an IB, but
I've heard of people not showering for 5 days.
Was that to do with the work, or did they have like some internal? I'm sure you could go to the gym and find a shower like this. There's 20 minutes for There's 20 minutes for a shower.
Delve into that.
I've never dealt with a deal in which there wasn't 20 minutes for a shower. Come on.
I know people.
There's a lot of blemishing after the fact. Like you work hard and you just blemish the hell out of it and just make up. Like
I know people who put beds in their offices because literally they can't go home and they may have a nap. There are some nap pods in some offices. My friend personally interning, he came in on the Sunday in his internship and left on Tuesday PM. I can go into so many stories. People just don't leave. I mean, there's a lot of hours. People working 100-hour weeks for 4 months. It's a lot. It can affect your health. Ultimately, if you're working on multiple deals at any one time, this can happen. If you're in a very leanly staffed team, top US law firms are quite leanly staffed, you will work a lot of hours. If it's investment banking, again, you'll work tons of hours. The Evercores and Moelis's, it really depends on the market. But you get paid a lot.
And for those who are scared and are hearing these stories and are like, wow, this sounds crazy, it's not as bad as you think. Like, I've been through it, and it's kind of like the adrenaline, being really passionate about what you're doing, working in a good team, makes it a lot better. And it sounds like crazy, but when you're doing it, you're just trying to see the end of the deal. And trust me, the human body can deal with quite a lot. Yeah. And the way I'll say it is, me personally, I wouldn't describe myself as a workaholic. All I'll say is I enjoy working, and whether that's the podcast, whether that's social media, whether that's my job as a corporate lawyer, I enjoy working, and I'll do as many hours as I need to get the job done and do a good job. And if you have that mentality in life, nothing will seem too daunting. And it's kind of like if you had your own business, you'll work like 20 hours to do what you need to do. And you should have that approach to your career as well, personally, because you're learning so much, you're getting paid like a crap ton for it. This idea that, 9 to 5 and I'm not going to work a minute past 5, I don't think, and again, people are going to say, you're working for the man and, you should just work, the hours that you've done. I think there's two very different approaches to life and to careers. And one is that I'm going to give the bare minimum and just try to get past my 9 to 5 and leave on. And the other is I'm going to take as much as I can out of this job. I'm going to train myself. Yep. I'm going to build my CV and I'm going to be the best version of myself. And if that requires 50 hours a week, 60 hours a week, 70 hours a week, that's going to mean a lot in 10 years' time. And I've worked like quite a few hours in my job, and I've never regretted any of those hours. And I think, again, you have to be conscious and make sure, you're not ruining your health or anything. Yeah. But again, and it's up to each individual. But I know you'll be hearing this and thinking, wow, but I was working these hours when I was studying for my history degree and stuff. I was putting the hours in. So you build up quite a tolerance for it. And
on the flip side, when you're working in these institutions, you are working with literally the most exceptional people globally. You work with Harvard grads, Yale grads, you work with global experts in like FinReg, you are working with the top of the top 0.1%. Someone said this recently, and I completely agree with it. The intellectual capital in a corporate law firm, pick out any firm, A&O, Sherman, any firm, the intellectual capital there is enough to run a country. Genuinely is. There are incredibly smart people there, PhDs in law, prior consultants, prior diplomats, you are learning so much. You're working with global experts. And even if you are there for a few years, it genuinely transforms you. A lot of people in IB, for instance, work for 2 years or 3 years at Goldman Sachs in their TMT team, and then they leave. They learn an incredible work ethic. They work with incredibly bright people, and that's a platform for other areas. It is arguably working for another person, but on the flip side, you're learning so much. You're working with incredibly competent people, and those skills, whether you become a GC, whether you work for a startup, will help you so much.
So again, just going through this list again. So high salary, IB. Longest hours, I'll give it to IB again because we defining on what hours. I've given that a side note. And then the third one is going to be which is the most prestigious in terms of exit opportunities.
Depends what you're exiting for is a very important point. Then I can speak for 25 hours on this.
If you want to be US president, then it's probably like law because I was reading a stat earlier today and I think this is just for the Democratic Party in the US, but like I think they lost like 20 presidents and vice president nominees have all come from like law school, like your Kamala Harris's, your Barack Obama's, Joe Biden. So, it
depends what we're looking at, what the exit is. A lot of students who come to me want to go into private equity. So if you want to go into private equity, so I'm defining this as a front office function, not ops or legal. If you want to go into that, virtually you have to go into investment banking. Or maybe Bain's Peg Group. If you want to go into a top buyout fund, you have to go into investment banking. If you want to go into VC, if you want to go into early stage or Sequoias or Advents, you can go into IB, but you can also go from MBB, or actually you can just become an operator, which is an operator, someone who runs a business. Startup.
What about CEO of like a Fortune 500 company?
If you want to become a CEO of a Fortune 500 company, consulting is a great option. McKinsey or the like, you can go into IB, but ultimately it depends what you want, developing a clear strategy. But they're all very prestigious, but McKinsey's very good, investment banking's very good, corporate law's very good, but it depends what you want. Ironically, we don't tend to see that many corporate lawyers as CEOs because their job, generally speaking, is more on risk management and not on commercial upside. So it really much varies, but Bain, McKinsey are all fantastic, create great exit ops.
So you have to give us a ranking.
I'd be too diplomatic in my answers. Number one, if I was going to go in myself and wanted the best exit op possible, I would go into IB.
Yeah, it has to be. So IB's, okay, I think IB might lose the next one. So it goes IB, consulting, corporate law.
If you put a gun to my head, yes. It's hard for me to answer, but yeah.
So now the fourth one. So it's been IB for like the fourth one is which one has the most good looking.
This is the most important question.
This is the most important. People are trying to find like wives and stuff or husbands. So they need to know.
Consulting or corporate law?
What? No, IB? Wait, what? Come on, Wolf of Wall Street.
There's very attractive people in IB. It's very attractive M&A.
Why is it Succession? Is that the IB show or industry?
Yeah, industry.
It's like Harvey Specter versus whoever's the leader.
A lot of my job was literally interviewing people every single day from Deutsche, from McKinsey, from corporate law firms, Travers. Again, if you put a gun to my head, 51% corporate law and 49% consulting.
Because I sometimes walk in the office and think, is this like the Met Gala or is this like
generally some very
good looking.
Yeah, very attractive people, look after their skin, great shape. Play paddle. I'd say very, very slightly corporate lawyers are very good looking.
And if that is,
and there's a GQ model here as well.
No, but the question is, if in your consideration of a career, there's a fourth one, bro, please don't write the application. Just go somewhere else. Okay, cool. So just to summarize, high salary IB, works longest hours IB, best exit op IB, and best looking people corporate law. So if somebody's looking to apply to corporate law investment banking, what are the top 3 things you would say those firms look for?
Top 3 things to get into elite careers. 1 is enthusiasm. 2 is clarity of thinking. They're looking for smart people, and smartness for me is clear thinking. I think 3 is having grit, keeping on going. Whether you're at Goldman, whether you're at Herbert Smith, you will be working hard in long deals. You've got to keep on going with a smile on your face, and honestly, that makes a big difference.
Hassan, what's one big secret that firms are keeping from applicants?
The one big secret that firms are hiding from candidates is research. Research the firm inside out. And how can you research the firm inside out? 1, go on their website. It is a treasure trove of information. 2, go on their annual report. It has all the information you honestly need. And thirdly, look at press releases from the CEO or the managing partner. It has all the strategy there. Research, 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 because in an interview, that's how you stand apart. In an application form or cover letter, referencing their revenue, referencing their new office openings, referencing a new partner hire in private credit, that is what makes you stand out. Being specific, being clear. And one super important thing linking to that is you don't need to know everything. You don't need to write a book about Latham & Watkins. You don't need to write a book about Deutsche Bank. You need to know enough to pass a recruitment process, be super targeted, be super focused, and know 3 things. This advice people pay thousands of dollars for, but I'm going to tell you for free. What you need to do to pass an interview is be structured. Structure is what will make you successful. Knowing everything about fresh fuels won't. What you need to be successful is, for instance, 1, you're interested in fresh fuels. Is it because they're focused on professional development? Is that a point? Why is it important? Why will that make you a better trainee solicitor? 2, is it because of the quality of their M&A advisory? What are they doing? Who are they advising? What are the client outcomes? And 3, it frankly could be because of their strategy. Is it due to their focus on the emerging markets? Is it due to their implementation of AI? Be very specific. I'm telling you, absolutely for free. Be specific, be clear, and this is what will get you into a Magic Circle law firm or a US law firm or a top investment bank or an elite bulge bracket investment bank. Be very, very specific, be very clear.
So when going through the recruitment process, how much of it is technical and how much of it is interpersonal? So how much of it is how much you know and how much of it is who you are as a person?
So 90% of an interview is honestly about likability and how well you can get on with the interviewer. Most candidates know how to answer walk me through your DCF, how you value a company. What makes a difference is likability. Can you stay with that person and work with them at 3 a.m. in the morning? That's what really matters. One of the biggest mistakes that candidates make at technical interviews is actually forgetting the delivery of the answer. Most can answer it well. It's not hard to learn, for instance, what is a WACC ratio? It's not. What's hard is to deliver that in a nice, engaging, and friendly way. That's what makes a difference. So the number one mistake that candidates make in technical interviews is focusing too much on the technicals and not enough on delivering the answer. Because the delivery of the answer is what enables success. And to be honest, I literally know candidates who have fudged up one question in a technical interview. But because they delivered it well, they showed that they were engaging and keen to learn, they actually passed the whole process. So really focus on delivery. That's what makes a big difference.
A question that I have is, how important is networking in getting these type of jobs? So let's kind of break it down into, you need to get past the process, the application process. And as part of that, there's a technical bit and an interpersonal bit. So you need to have that charisma, confidence. Plus, you need to know what you're talking about. In IB, that's going to be knowing the whole Excel and the math stuff. And in corporate law, that's having some commercial awareness. And then there's this other bit, which is the networking. How important is that?
Great question. So nuanced answer. It's very important in the US that you won't get in the US. Is helpful in the UK. The real question is, can you get into corporate law in the UK or IB without networking? You can in the UK. In the US, you cannot. Now, it depends what you're networking for. Is it a networking to get a referral and actually to get into IB? Is it networking to find greater insights into, say, Credit Suisse? What is it for? What are you ultimately networking for? I think that's the key thing. Is it to get more insights into the culture? What is it for? But ultimately, it's very important. But you can be successful without networking and get into corporate law and IB. On the flip side, I know lots of students who have the most incredible networking game. They have networked with 20 people with one institution and they've got nowhere. Genuinely happens. But it depends what you're networking for, which country you're networking into. In Dubai, networking is everything. Genuinely depends what country you want to get into. But yeah.
Yeah, and I would agree with the same. And I get a lot of people that like message me and stuff, and I'm kind of in a different position. So I've been on both flip sides where I've been trying to build a network and reach out to people, whole lot of rejections, and then obviously having some connects and having some coffees. And now I get a lot of messages, and like honestly, I get so many messages that it's impossible for me to answer everybody because I just don't have like the time during my day. Unfortunately, there's only 24 hours of a day, and like they have to be dedicated to other stuff as opposed to answering like DMs or LinkedIn messages. And when you are networking I would say is very important. But it comes to like who you're networking with and shooting out a bunch of messages to everybody makes no sense whatsoever.
Don't
if you're
do
going to
that.
go through like 100 people at Goldman Sachs all the way from David Solomon below and just like say, can we grab a coffee? That's not going to work. You need to find somebody who has a link to you. So I'll give you an example. I went to Warwick. I'm Pakistani. I'm from Birmingham. Cool. 3 links. Now, if I get a message from somebody who ticks one of those, who's Pakistani or he's from Birmingham, I'm more likely to respond because I see some sort of connection than somebody who's completely left field. It's like it's not like I wouldn't respond, but like the people who are most likely to respond to and to catch my eyes is where they build something beforehand and they're like, oh, we have this in common, or oh, we have this, we know this person. And especially if you know somebody like in common with them, that's the best, because if somebody like they know Ish or they know Hassan, I'm gonna respond because I owe you guys something, so I wouldn't. But if you're going from the cold, when I was networking, the people I was most successful with were people who were alumni from Warwick University or people who were from Birmingham, and I could tell them, look, I'm from Small Heath, you're from Aston, we both come from like a low socioeconomic background. Can we just get a coffee and like chat for a bit? And so I think rather than just like doing this kind of like machine gun approach of like you got the same message and you hit 100 people and you think it's solely a numbers game, be a bit thoughtful, add a bit of quality to your message, find people who you have a link to, and that link could be anything. And I think that's going to maximize your chances of getting a response and having that coffee or that Teams call.
Completely agree. I think same thing we do with clients, have a very clear process. There's subconscious rapport and there's conscious rapport. We need to focus on people who are similar to you. Again, if you're from Warwick or from Birmingham, focus on these individuals first. That makes a big difference. And if you're networking for VC, for me, the best way to network is not network. What that means is develop effective relationships that are productive. You want to get into venture capital, the best way to network is send a founder's deck who you think may be a potential investment. Send a market map. If you, again, for private equity, this is unconventional, but it works. Write an article, offer to manage someone's LinkedIn account for them.
Perfect. I've never heard that before, and that sounds actually excellent, because let's take this back a bit. You're trying to get something from them, and the worst way to get something from somebody is to be explicit about it and be like, I want 30 minutes of your time. If you can find a different way to navigate that and either offer them something in return or maybe, and I think I did a video about this where it's like sell them a story. So you have a unique story. And if your life is like, I don't know, Rocky Balboa's or whatever it is, the reason why we're all invested in that is because we want to help this person. So if you sell it as though, here's my story, please help me, and they read it and they're like, wow, this is so inspiring, or wow, this is a person that I want to help because I think they can be something, or you offer them something in return, because essentially you're asking them for something, and if you're explicit about it and be like, and like the worst messages that I get are like not even hello, it's like, do you have a 30-minute time for a call? I'm like, even if I did, like, to that, I'm not going to respond to, I'm sorry, we all have like some sort of like ego where I want to be respected as like a human and not like a AI automation machine. Like I treat ChatGPT better than some people message me, honestly, because I'm with ChatGPT writing the please and thank you. People just coming straight up like, do you have 30 minutes for a call?
No manners.
I do, but I'm not going to reply to that one.
Yeah, I think it's about giving value. I think if you want to honestly build effective, what I literally tell clients is the best networking is not networking. It's effective relationship building. And look to give value in that conversation. A lot of associates, or individuals coming into their career, what they're looking to do at 4, 5, 6, 7 PQE or VP level in IBs is build their brand. Why should you build your brand? Because that is how you ultimately get more inbound deal flow. People recognize you as an expert in the space. If you're offering to, say, write an article or make a few LinkedIn posts for, say, don't know, an employment lawyer at Travis Smith once a week, and it's good, people are more likely, often, may say yes to you. And that is a good way to go. Same thing with private equity. But the key thing is, the best networking is not networking, it's effective relationship development and giving. Give lots of value. The more value you can give, the better you can get. And again, it's time. It's compounding over time. A lot of people struggle to get training contracts. There's multiple years of rejections. It happens. Build a strategy, be clear. That is what will help you.
Yeah, just to build on that, actually. So networking sometimes can be a bit of a grind, but you've always got the people who like, you know, we're talking about the people that have been to really big schools at Warwick. Maybe their mate's dad is like an MD somewhere. Do you think nepotism still exists in the corporate world?
I think, yes, to a degree, but I can promise you the clients that I work with are incredibly connected, and being black and white does not enable them to be successful. It's helpful because you can understand more about the industry. But on the flip side, if you network effectively, you can learn from other individuals. But the key thing is this: do you have to be a nepo baby to be successful? No. You absolutely can be successful. We have a case study right here, directly, that you can do it without. So yes, you will see these things on Reddit, you will see these things on TikTok, but my thing is this with clients: focus on the controllables. The controllables, if you focus on the controllables, the uncontrollables will control themselves. If you're making 20 high quality training contract applications, you'll probably be successful at 15. Then you'll probably get to the AC of 7. You will naturally get rejected. Everyone gets rejected, but you only need one offer. Control what you can control. If it's for IB, learn the different ways to value a company. Control what you can control, and I can promise you, you will be successful. This is exactly what I tell clients.
And like, nepotism isn't unique to corporate law.
Yeah.
Nepotism exists in life, and unfortunately, and I had to learn this myself, life isn't fair. People are gonna get like the leg up on you, and people are gonna be a few steps ahead, a few miles ahead even.
Yeah.
But that shouldn't concern you. You're on your own journey, and like looking at somebody else and being like, oh, they had it so easy, their dad was a corporate lawyer or their dad was an investment banker. And I'm saying this as somebody who doesn't have any relation whatsoever, so I did it like the hard way or the way that non-nepotistic way. Why do you care? Like, that's that. You just work, and if you're good enough, there's enough space for people from outside those kind of ranks to get in. And so if my advice to anybody who doesn't have those links is work on building your own and pay no attention to if X person got in easy, because over the long term, that grit and that hard work that you put in to make your own way is going to teach you so many valuable skills that the person who got in easily wouldn't have. And so therefore, they won't survive as long as you, because building your own network gives you the opportunity to build so many other transferable skills.
Yep.
So like I built so many skills of like being like, I hope, a charismatic person, somebody who can like deal with others, starting from the bottom, grinding to get up. And so now like rejection or people like rejecting my coffees is second nature. But somebody who had it handed to them, a silver platter, I'd love to see where we are in like 10 years time, because they just haven't been through like what I've been through, which makes me like a unique candidate. And so just treat it as your USP, that I did it the hard way, and own it. Don't shy away from it.
Just to go into this, I have had client applications from individuals who have been to top boarding schools, who have been to one of the bridges, Oxbridge, and their dad is a corporate law partner. They have not been successful. That is why they reached out to me to work with them. I've had other individuals whose parents are very senior corporate executives. I can't be specific. Genuinely, if it mattered, they would be successful. I have clients from some of the world's most prestigious schools. If it mattered, I can promise you I would not get these reach out. I've got a full Google Drive of all of these. So it's helpful, but is it determinative? Absolutely not.
So sticking on corporate careers, tell us the craziest thing you've heard, either through corporate law or investment banking.
I don't know how much I can say, given I literally signed non-disclosure agreements with a lot of people, but I can give a few. So start off getting warm. There's a very, very, very famous historical figure who literally shaped European history. I'm a history grad. You'll know definitely.
Napoleon.
I can't comment on who it is, but it's very, very, very famous in French. I worked with his great-great-grandson in London. And
you know who this is?
Defined history.
French famous?
Yeah.
I wonder who
I think you know.
It might be Napoleon.
Yeah. I think there's a tweet about it, right?
Yeah, I saw something.
So he probably will not remember. He or she will not remember who I am, because this was literally a very long time ago. But that was very cool. There was people. I had a client reach out to me whose granddad was a billionaire. I can't be specific because if this goes on the internet,
No, but what about people who are working in careers and like hours worked, like crazy stories while working the job?
I know someone who's worked at a top corporate law firm and working so much in 8 months, they put on 20 kgs in weight. Their shirts would no longer fit them. Genuinely.
Did they get the new shirts comped by the firm? That's the question I'm asking.
Same question.
And what size were they? I could take the old shirts.
I know they bought from Charles Tyrwhitt, I can say. Crazy recruitment stories. We had someone applying and interviewing for a top buyout fund. We had to tell her to take a shower for the interview.
What?
This has not been told to these guys before the interview. We genuinely had to. She was incredibly smart, but we had to.
But not smart about hygiene.
Yeah, EQ for me is more important than IQ. I really want to stress that. I've worked with clients from a recruitment perspective. I've worked with people on 3 million a year. I've worked with people who've, when I was meeting people at Harvard MBA, there was someone there whose dad was worth billions.
Sticking with MBAs, are they still worth it today? Like doing an MBA, because so we spoke about university, we spoke about getting into top corporate careers. When you're in a corporate career, especially for I think consulting and IB, it's quite like quite a few people do MBAs at your US or your US universities or at Oxford. Are they still worth it today?
Good question. This is a controversial approach. I'm here to be honest. To people, the M7s are fantastic, but there are some good schools in in Europe too, like INSEAD and LBS. Yes, it depends what you want though. You can definitely go and do an MBA, but will it guarantee you a job at Carlisle or Sinvan? The answer is no. But the flip side is the network you get there, you absolutely can't buy. So I've spoken to students at Harvard Business School, and honestly, the network you cannot buy there. There are people there whose granddads have founded global corporates. There are individuals there who are very senior media conglomerates, owning media conglomerates. Depends what you want.
Is that worth the trade-off? Because you're paying $250,000. Like, let's take Harvard or the M7 as an example. You pay $250,000 to get in, and you get to meet somebody whose dad owned whatever. His dad owned Coca-Cola or whatever. Is that worth it? Is like making like that network worth the $250K?
I guess the question is, when you pull out your phone and your contact list is worth $1 billion, is it worth it? Because literally that's what it is. Because you can get access to ABC.
What's your net worth? Because my contact list is whatever his net worth is. It's £5.
I think MBA is worth it. Depends what you're looking for. Because the contact book you can get if you're at HBS, if you have a business school, Wharton, these are powerhouses, and you can get into an Apollo, a KKR and the like, but does it guarantee success? No. Frankly speaking, that's why I spoke to students there in the P and VC club. It's helpful, but no. But ultimately, it can transform your life. You can earn millions. You can earn millions in carry. You can earn millions in carry in a PE fund or a VC fund. It's helpful. And also, frankly speaking, at HBS, you literally will get David Beckham coming in your class. You will get Kim Kardashian coming in your class. Genuinely, they are part of the cases. So it's definitely worth it for some.
And for those who are trying to pivot, let's say you're a corporate lawyer, you've done a few years and you want to pivot into either a strategy consulting or you want to work in like a Fortune 500. I've seen people do this and I was wondering if that's the best approach, or if you're stuck in a career and you want to pivot elsewhere, is an MBA a good break point?
Definitely for some. But if you want to go to, say, McKinsey, you definitely do not need an MBA. In London anyway, you definitely don't need an MBA. But if you want to rebrand yourself, definitely a good option. You've also got 2 years to meet and connect with other people, but definitely it's helpful. But ultimately, it depends what you want. MBA isn't a magic bullet that will solve all your problems. I'm sounding quite controversial here. I'm here to be honest. It depends what your goals are. If you want 2 years to think, it can help you think. It can help you found a co-founder. It can help you go into tech. Depends what you want, but the question is, can you go into IB? There are MBA tracks for IB. Can you go into IB after an MBA? The answer is yes, but depends what you want.
And another question is, a lot of people when trying to find a grad job are thinking about where's the best city to start my career. So let's say you want to go into a corporate career, whether that be corporate law, investment banking, consulting. We mentioned that before. Is London the best place, or is it New York or Dubai, Qatar? Where's the best place to start a corporate career today?
Again, depends what you're optimizing for. But for me, London or New York.
And which out of London or New York?
I will say London, as I like London.
Over New York?
It depends. I think the key thing we're looking for is transactional activity and the quality of people. That ultimately is going to happen either America, or New York, or London. So that's what matters. You want that exposure. You're going to typically get the biggest and best deals in New York or London. New York probably is the best.
I think for IB, definitely New York, from what I've experienced. For corporate law, it might be London. And the reason why I say this is because of English law and how English law is predominant around the world. So let's say you train in New York and you pass the New York bar. There'll only be specific deals you can work on, which are like US specific. While if you become an English and Welsh corporate lawyer, you can go to Dubai, you can go to anywhere that's like common law and do law. And that's a lot more international. There's a lot more international exposure. And again, anecdotally, I've been told English lawyers, those who have studied, sorry, not people who are English, I mean those who have studied English law and are based in London or one of the regional cities are better lawyers than New York because of its international scope.
I would agree.
And like I've been told this by like recruiters in Dubai who are looking for lawyers are looking in London. They're looking in Birmingham. They're looking in Scotland. They're not exactly looking in New York. Maybe that's because it's a harder sell for New York lawyers. I don't know. But there's probably a reason of like competence where it's like because of that international exposure, you're more likely to be like a better lawyer maybe.
I literally am an ex-corporate law recruiter and absolutely right. Completely agree. English law, as we know, I'm not a lawyer, but there's clear precedent. If you have disputes, you want to resolve it in London, ideally, because you'll have a better outcome.
And then, okay, cool. So out of London, New York, we'll go for New York for IB.
Yeah.
London for corporate law. What about consulting? Again, New York, would you say?
I would say probably New York or London. Again, depends on the individual person. But ultimately, for me, when I talk to clients and students, what you should be optimizing for at the start of your career is becoming technically excellent and working with high quality people.
That's wherever you find them, in New York, London.
Yeah, and I'd say New York is exceptional. London's exceptional. It's a personal choice, but I think it's all about the quality of mandates you're going to get, what you're going to be working on, the quality of projects. New York's great.
And then going from there, you've got your Dubais, your Qatars, even regionally in the UK or regionally in the US, so like Texas is quite big, Silicon Valley.
Boston,
I would say, for me, so it's London, New York, number 1 and 2, whichever way you want to do it, as we discussed. And then it's going to be regionally in the UK or the US, and then Dubai. I put Dubai on a tier 3.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that. I think they're all good. Depends what you want.
But why is Dubai tier 3? Like, what are your reasons?
I think this is going to be controversial, but I think the quality of deals you get generally in London, New York are better. And
regionally, I think they're better.
Regionally, and I think I would say the quality of people generally is higher in London and New York, generally. But Dubai is exceptional. It's a very vastly booming area. MENA is growing rapidly, but it just depends. But I would say just to start your career, I would recommend to start your career in London and New York and then think about lateraling.
100% agree. I 1,000% agree that, and that's what I took. So I started my career obviously in London.
Yeah.
And I've seen the move. Look, you start your career in London and the world's your oyster. You can move to New York. You can move to Texas. I've seen people move to Texas. You can move to Dubai, Saudi. Is the opposite true? Like, can you start your career in Saudi and move to London? Potentially, but it's a lot of a harder sell. And that's mainly because Saudi is not as international. Like, if you're in Saudi, you're going to be working on like Saudi-focused deals.
Yeah.
In London, I'm working on deals all over. Like, I've worked on deals in Timbuktu, deals in like the UK. Like, you're working everywhere because it's quite international. Yeah. But in Saudi, it just doesn't have that international focus, which means it's a lot harder to sell later on in your career when you want to pivot. Which is what I tell people as well. So we've given a lot of advice, right? And a lot of the advice we've given might be hard to implement overnight because it's just being charismatic or having strategy requires some thought. What's one takeaway that somebody can take away from this conversation and implement? And I'll give mine. Just start reading more. I think reading more makes you a smarter person. Listen to the right types of podcasts can build commercial awareness. And I think that will help you get into a corporate career. So if you want to walk away with anything that I've said, read more and listen more. Download the Financial Times podcast, start buying books about how the corporate world works and just generally how anything works. And that would make you a smarter person and increase your chances of getting a corporate career. And what's one takeaway, tangible takeaway, that you would tell the audience?
More of mindset. Because for me, mindset's everything. If your mindset's right, everything else will, frankly, be on the right path. Control the controllables. Control what you can control. One thing tangibly you can do to control everything is create a plan. At the end of the show, literally, if you want to go into corporate law, make a plan. I'm going to apply to these top firms. I'm going to go and apply and focus on developing my Watson Glazer. I'm going to focus on my higher view. Just have a plan. Making a plan, it will make everything so much easier. So yes, one key thing is having a plan.
Hassan, thank you for joining us.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure. Thank you very much.